weeks since we've done a live stream. All that blade show prep. Man. Getting everything ready for that, having all those builds going, ready for the show. It's a lot. We are going to be forging some new type of steel here. Something that I haven't used yet. Pops Pro Cut. That's what we're going to forge today. This is not sponsored by Pops. They are not a sponsor, but I'm using some of their steel. What's up? How's it going? So we're going to be forging. This is 3/30 seconds thick Pops Pro Cut. This is their new super steel, or their new like big thing. So of course comes in got it in a 4-foot bar. This is minus the steel that I've already chopped off. 3/30 seconds thick. It's not very thick. What's up, Steve? We're going to be forging some little, what I call like EDC chefs. It's like a mixture between a petty and a paring. It's just a utility chef, a kitchen knife. It's a little bit smaller. I typically do these as hidden tangs, but we're going to do some full tangs today. And my Pops Pro Cut. This is supposed to be their replacement for 15 and 20. This is, if you were to forge this into a Damascus billet, this would replace 15 and 20 as the silver steel, as the steel that did not take the dark edge. So that's what we're going to work with today. We're going to forge it. It's not I don't have a very thick piece of steel, so we're going to have to be mindful as we're forging this to not taco it. D2 and BD1, yeah, I know, right? And now you got D2 on almost every China-made folder. We're using a small forge today. We're going to start by forging in our tip with the 2 Bastards rounding hammer. Just be careful as we're doing this to not taco this. Show you what I'm talking about. See how the end is starting to fold like that? We gotta be careful as we're forging this. Well, like I said, we're using the small forge that I made that's on top of my big forge. The nice thing is I can have the door shut and still be working on the front of it there. Adjust where this fan's blowing so I can forge it for longer. I've got a fan kind of blowing towards me. This steel, you almost want to forge it like 50 to 100. You need to keep the heat up on it. Don't forge it while it's cold. Just going to adjust how the fan's blowing here so it's not blowing onto the actual. Hot as we go. As soon as it starts losing heat, put it back in the forge. So because this is a full tang version of this profile, and I haven't done a full tang version of this, I'm forging 2 of them. So if you're going to forge a new profile for the first time, I always suggest that you do 2 right off the rip. At least 2. It kind of gives you the practice of being able to forge them symmetrically. Also, it gives you an extra one that you might not have been working on at that time as a template. Because let's say someone buys this one and I need to instantly go into finishing this one out, I need to have the extra one that I can make a template off of. But I always do 2 or 4 of the first ones. Flatten in between upsets, absolutely. And then, how long have I been smithing? For about 5 years now. I've been making knives for about a little over 6, but been smithing for about 5. And I went into it. I've made a whole lot. I worked the TR, the Renaissance Fair here in Texas. It's the largest Renaissance Fair in America, where we were forging 10 hours a day, Saturday and Sunday, and we were turning over 4 to 6 blades every 45 minutes. So I've forged a lot of knives, a lot of profiles, a whole lot of stuff. Right now, working on the freeform. Getting our tip kind of worked out. All we're doing is just getting that tip brought down. Make sure we don't roll anything over. You gotta be mindful to not get any cold shuts. That way you don't have to worry about delaminations later. Basically just cold shuts. You don't want that steel to fold over. You don't want that steel to fold over on itself, because what will happen is, let's say you let that steel fold over, and then you continue to forge and forge and forge and forge. Well, that piece of steel that folded over is not going to stick to the steel under it. So what will happen is, whenever you go through and start grinding your bevels, you're going to end up taking the little piece of steel that's holding that piece, that little flap over on there. You're going to take and rip that off, and you're going to end up with a dent in your spine or on your flats, on your bevels. You'll end up with a dip that you don't want. It's like 90 outside, which is why I'm wearing the most opposite of PPE possible. Just out here forging in some shorts and a tank top. And some hey dudes. At least I'm not forging in Crocs. I got plenty of friends that do that. going. Whew. It is already super hot in here. Let's see what you got going on here. Let's see what you're saying. Yay, close. Rip fairs until. Yeah, I get that. Is it moving like 10 series? No, it's moving more like 52-100. I mean, even the fact that this is 3/30 seconds, which is a little bit thinner, it's still forging like I was using 3/16 or 1/4 inch steel. So you gotta get it nice and hot while you're forging. Remember, as we're preforming it, some people would think that this is the cutting edge, this is the cutting edge. Okay, so this is just dropping it down to the tip so that when we forge the bevels, it'll bring that tip up a little bit. Probably go get a bandana like the Karate Kid. To make a mace, like a straight, not a circle on top. Yeah, I've got friends that do that. What's up, LH Knives? What's up, Carlos? But yeah, it's possible to make maces like that. So I've got friends that have done the YouTube Knife Makers Challenge that have made different things like that. Also, the YouTube Knife Maker Challenge, if y'all didn't see earlier this morning, that little short video released. We've got the YouTube Knife Makers Challenge coming up. We're going to be doing the military challenge. And we're all making military weapons, which is going to be pretty cool. Flatten this. I'm cool with the freeform on the blade of this one, so now I need to mark where the tang's going to be. Pretty much just going to use it, make it square. About right there. So I always put in a little notch right there for where the tang is going to start. You do that before you start forging it so that you have an index point to have while the steel's hot and you're not trying to figure it all out while you're wasting heat. Alright, let's get this next one to that phase that we were just at. Let's come in here, drop that down. All right. We'll open the door and just make sure I have those in the same spot. Yep. We are good there. Let this heat up just a little bit more, and then like in another 2 seconds we're going to pull it out. Let's see here. For the challenge, and it's awesome. That's what the K-bar traditional saber. Yeah, there's lots of things. I'm gonna go a little bit off the wall, like I always do on those challenges. Like we did the post-apocalyptic challenge, and I made a war scythe. We did the dagger challenge, and I made a double-bladed dagger that had a dagger out both ends that I called the Darth Maul dagger. I'm gonna switch tongues. Go back in there just for a second. Pull these tongues off. Let's go ahead and grab box straws. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to be doing some half on, half off blows. Give me just a second. I'll show you what that means. Okay, I'm going to turn the anvil so that y'all can see this process a little bit better. Now we're going to risk tacoing the hell out of this as we're doing this next phase. A half on, half off just means I have the corner of the anvil in this notch right here, and I'm hammering and I'm splitting that. I'm going half on the anvil, half off the anvil with the hammerhead. What that's going to do is it's going to let me create a V. I would say more like an L than anything. What it's going to do is it's going to let me create a little notch. You want the heel of the blade to be hanging off the anvil so that it can forge past the anvil while we crush this section right there. That way we actually get the handle profile that we want, and we don't lose height in the heel. See, what's going to keep happening is this section is going to keep going down past the anvil all while we're shifting that material up. Okay, so like right there, I just took a little edge and rolled it down and over. This little piece right here, a little bit of that folded over onto the side. So now I'm just going to take a file and I'm going to detach the little piece that was connecting there. Call this hot filing because we're filing while it's hot. Crazy, huh? So what's going to happen is whenever I come over to the anvil and I forge it this next time, that little piece that folded over and tried to stick itself down to the side of the blade, is going to flake off. I wonder how hot it is in here. Over my head? What? Look at this. Look at what Nisha brought me. Y'all ready for me to be walking around like this? Y'all are not ready for that.
Oh no, wait. We can make it better. We can make it better. Hold on.
There's lots of jokes incoming for that.
No. Babe.
Oh no. Nope. Yeah. That ain't happening. This ain't the stream for that. Whenever you're working with something like 1/4 inch thick material, you don't have to baby it as much. So whenever you're using a thicker material, man, you can just blast away at it. You're not sitting there worried about it folding over or getting that little taco situation. You don't have to worry about that. All you got to do is just blast away at it, which is what I'm used to. But I wanted to try this thinner material because I'm using it for sheds. The one that's taking a little bit longer, closer to the heat source. That way I don't have to worry about that. Woo! And my other shop that y'all are actually sitting inside of is a lot cooler than this main shop. Like, so y'all are sitting in the doorway to my shop where I do all my leather work and stuff like that. That shop feels so much better. Y'all better enjoy that. Y'all are hanging out, nice cool air. I'm over here forging in the hot shop. All right, let's go fast. Okay, before I roll this over and clean that up, I want you to see something. So, let me grab one of my little pointers here. All right, so this stuff right here, this is that stuff that I was talking about that's going to be flaking off right there. These little mountain peaks right there. That's the stuff that's going to come off, so we don't have to worry about that. But if I wouldn't have hot filed that, all of that would have rolled back in. Okay. Let's get it. as you can see, heel is still pretty much full height, but we've necked that down quite a bit. Yeah, where I live, I think we're supposed to be 97 or something like that today, with a heat index of like 100 is what it's supposed to be, or a little over 100. So let's say if it's 95 outside, it's like 120 in my shop. Because I mean, you gotta think, we got a furnace in here going right now. Okay, we were able to catch this one up to the other one. One of the things that you will see as I'm forging is that I don't sit there and correct the profiles the whole entire time. Whenever I'm forging, I'm working on a specific area and I don't care what happens to the profile. Now, the only thing I'm correcting right now is the tacoing effect and the rolling of the edges. Not worried about what's happening to the profile. What's going to happen is, as I'm forging the preforms, it's going to end up letting me do everything I want to do after that. All I'm focusing on is condensing the steel in certain areas so that whenever I start focusing on the actual forging of the bevels and forging of the distal tapers and all of that, it's going to correct the profile and clean everything up through material management, through blacksmithing techniques, through paying attention to, if you thin a certain area, where does that material go? Does it go up, down, left, right? What's it going to do? So I use the blacksmithing techniques to get everything where it needs to go instead of sitting there trying to correct the profile. Trust your preforms. Okay, so we're good right there with that thickness. Now what we need to do is bring this back in now. That back in. Whenever I switch to the horn like that, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to pinch the material out. So I'm going to take the round side of my rounding hammer, because my hammer has a flat side and a round side. I'm going to take the round side and the horn, and I'm going to pinch the steel. Right now, it's kind of like this. I'm going to pinch the steel back here between those two areas, and what it's going to do is give me that kind of profile. So it's going to pinch this area in so that then all I've got to do is knock these off to create the rest of the profile. But it's going to naturally give me this transition for the swell and a handle. And I'm just going to use the horn and the round side of the hammer to create that. It's like using a top die and a bottom die on a press. Bring this one down just a little bit more. Same process, switch to the other side, flatten, 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 want to show you what's happening now. So it's going to start moving this in. It's going to start doming the outside here. You can already see it starting to push this material out and create kind of a mushroom. So if you don't do what I'm doing right now, you get a bigger chance to get what we call fish lips. If y'all have ever heard of fish lips, y'all know that they kind of look like a Pac-Man mouth, okay? So fish lips is whenever the steel does that. Fish lips. What happens is when you're forging flat and flat, what primarily moves is this outside piece of steel and this outside piece of steel, which extends those out and barely moves the center. Whenever you forge like this, it bumps the center out and gives you a mushroom. Okay, none of these things look good whenever I draw this. Okay, but anyways, let's take that off there. But it bumps the material out so that it's real easy to pinch those sides down. How long has it been going? About 30 minutes. I'm forging 2 profiles though. And all we've done at this point is forge the preform on the blades and then started working on the handles, the tangs. Again, we're bringing it down and it's doming this. What's cool about this particular part is you can actually use this to make a really cool profile. Or a handle profile through smithing. And I'll show you all that before I change it. Gives you some cool facets. Now, of course, I'm going to end up changing it a little bit because I'm doing a specific profile on this. So I have to adjust from where it's going to be, but there's a lot of people that are going to like the profile of the handle pre me adjusting. See, starting to create a little transition in there and how much it's mushrooming that now. gonna keep bringing that down. What's up, Mark? I'm just out here, you know, getting a good workout, sweating everything out. Whew. Like I'm sweating enough that I'm dripping onto the steel. But I bet my shirt's gonna be soaked when this is all said and done. But if you ever need to exercise, you get a really nice pump out of blacksmithing. Over. See how it has fully domed right there? But you can see what I mean. A lot of people are going to end up liking this kind of profile that we have going on here as I bring that down. Now, let me go ahead and pull this on. All the water is already evaporated off of that done. That's how hot it's going. So, one of the things you got to remember, especially when it comes to preforms, is thinking through what you're going to be doing with your tang and stuff like that. Like right now, the tang of this is too small. It's not long enough to be a full tang knife. It's only about a 3-finger knife as opposed to a 4. I'm doing a distal taper on this, so whenever I thin the tang out going towards the butt of that tang, it's going to make it longer. So I've got to think through how short I need it so that whenever I forge it out and taper it, is everything going to go to the right spot? That's where some of the mental math comes into play. Let's just say you wanted a cool little simple profile tang. You can just leave it at that. Little 3-finger, easily do a little bit of grinding, and boom, you've got a cool little faceted, handle profile for a smaller knife. Now what I'm going to do the next time I forge on that specific one is I'm going to adjust that plot a bit. Wow. I thought I was just gonna blow the sweat off my glasses where it had dripped down, not realizing the amount of sweat that I had on my mustache. So I just like full blown misted my glasses, just sprayed them with sweat. Again, that's what that handle profile is looking like, how they're matching. Yeah, do not hammer when it's come cold. Yep, easily done on the horn. Now, of course, I'm going to end up changing it because my chefs have this particular handle profile right here. So I'm going to end up taking that dip that's in there out and creating that taper right there. That's one of my forged chefs right there. This is one of my longer ones. Almost a coffin handle. Yep. So now, bring this, put it on the anvil flat, knock her down. Bring it down. No fish lips. Bring it down. But that way, because of how much we're bringing it down in that coffin handle end, if we would have sat there and tried to knock the corners in, and like if we would have tried to take it and took it from this squared off edge here, we would have been forging a lot to keep it from getting that fish mouth on there, because we had to almost cut the height down by 2/3. And that would have just sucked. But if you do it this way, by forging behind the end on the horn versus the edge of the anvil, and some people will take and hand it, and I've done this before, they'll hang it off the end of the anvil, forge it, and that will let them get that point. But whenever you're doing that, what you're going for, here, I'll show you on this one. So I do that when I'm trying to create this little bird's beak, this little hook on the end of this. So if I'm trying to create that piece that's going to go around your hand like that and forge it to profile, that is whenever you want to hang it off the anvil and forge, so that this part goes past the anvil and you dent in this section here and create that profile, that dip, only on one side, and you create more of a 90-degree angle on the inside. Whenever we're just trying to pinch it so that we can taper it off, we don't want to create this. We want to use the two even sections of the horn and the rounding hammer and just pinch it out on a piece of Play-Doh. So it all depends on the end goal of where you're going to hit on the anvil. Where you're going to hit on the anvil, what part of the hammer you're going to be using, which hammer you're going to be using. That's what I like to show in these live streams, because you don't really get to see that in videos that people post. A lot of those people just want the cool highlights in the video. They don't do much of the education side of it. When you're planishing, you can planish it pretty cool. But you can see how much we brought that in down now. Still even thickness. I'm going to work on that one more heat, and then we're going to forget about the handle for a little while. We're going to start working on the blade. The only time you're going to be forging on this is when it's cool, is when you're planishing. Cool with that handle profile for right now. We'll switch it over. Working on the blade, moving forward on that one. Let's see what you typed here, because that was a lot of words. I like the live stream better. I watch a few knife makers regularly. Over time, I feel like I got to know them almost. Yeah, I agree with that. Now, some people have wondered why I've done live streams more than videos lately. For one, it makes it a little bit easier because I don't have to edit it. Two, the amount of ads that run on a 25, 30-minute video is absolutely insane right now. Unless you have YouTube Premium, you are getting blasted by ad after ad after ad after ad after ad. Like, it seems like almost every 2-3 minutes you're getting an ad. So whenever I do the live streams, there's none of that. Now I don't get paid near as much for a live stream as I do for a video, but I swear you get way more interaction on a live stream than you would in a video, because you're not sitting there having to skip through ads all the time. That tang. Switch to working on the blade. Now remember, I have not distal tapered the tang at all yet. So the tang is at full length. I'm going to work on the blade before I go through and thin that tang out. What's up, OG? So I've been doing more shorts and posting on TikTok and doing all of that, because again, I mean, the ads are just a whole lot. And what lets me be able to do this without posting videos and getting the ad revenue is the sponsors. So like Texas Two Bastards, so Texas Smithy and Supply, Two Bastards, them being a sponsor, so they sponsor all my hammers. Texas Farrier Supply sponsor this J. Nielsen anvil, which I absolutely love. You can get it on the Texas Farrier Supply website. It's nice having the sponsors because they're the ones that allow me to do this without doing ads. If it wasn't for them, this would not be near as possible as it is. Let's clean up this profile. Okay, so as of right now, this is our preform. How it is. What's up, Garth from South Africa? So now what I've got to do is I've got to taper this out just a little bit more and make that tip thinner. And then I'll go ahead and start pulling this out and working on those bevels. All South Africa, the home of, what is it, Chappie and District 9? Movies that should have had sequels. Y'all even claim those movies? I'm a nerd, so I like sci-fi movies. Okay, this time I'm gonna get this sweat off my glasses without blowing more sweat onto them. Military challenge yet? Yeah, I talked about it a little bit, but I haven't told y'all what I'm gonna make. And I don't know when I'm gonna explain that part of it, but I will tell you this. They said that we could do any military type thing. So I was like, okay. Whenever they said that we could do, turn this down just a little bit more. When they said that we could do any type of military, I was like, cool. I'm gonna go ridiculous with it because I can. So I'm gonna do something really, really, really cool, and the other people are not gonna do it. Like I said, I need to taper this down a little bit more. I mean, y'all know me. If you've watched the channel for a long time, I tend to go out of the box quite a bit. I can only imagine how many K-bars are going to get made. If you're going to make a K-bar, that's okay. Saying I'm not going to. So we want to take this on this particular style and thin it out quite a bit towards the tip because we don't want a really tall point on this. And whenever I forge out the bevels, I'm going to forge it with a straight pin. And I'm going to get length out of it. I'll focus more on length and I'm going to focus more on height. I'm gonna get a little bit of height right off the bat with the cross beam, and the rest of it, and that's primarily going to be in the heel section. The rest of it's going to be just focused on length. So this next step, whenever I'm forging the way that I'm going to be forging on this, it does require even more finesse during this, because what you're going to be doing is you're basically going to be pinching the hell out of one specific spot as you go, as opposed to the way that this rounding hammer works, where you're hitting and you're moving big masses of material. Whenever you're using a cross peen or a straight peen, you're compressing much finer areas. What that does is it lets you put a bigger dent into it, but you got to clean up later. So when you're using a rounding hammer, you're putting big broad dents that are shallow but wide. When you're using a cross peen or a straight peen, you're putting real sharp valleys. Boom, 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 and it goes deeper. You got to clean it up later. Don't sacrifice cleanliness by just leaving the gouges in there. You need to be paying attention so that you can planish them out. Start by working this heel out with a straight peen or a cross peen. See, we're putting lines going this way. You see how fine those dents are? Lines going this way, we're pulling this material out. Now we don't need to create a huge heel on this. We just need a little bit of height. So we're not focused on trying to thin the hell out of this steel. Same thing, bringing it down. Now the nice thing is, because of the way I forged my preform, I've already got a ton of drop on that heel. See here. Let's see here. Good. Good country as well, or selection. Yep. Is it best to get your width before getting your length? Yes, it's better to get your height. You want to get your height before you get your length. Here's why. Whenever you're getting your height, you have material to move down. When you're getting your length, you're going to start from wherever you got your height and really focus more from there forward to get your length. So you're only getting your height out of about 1.5 to 2 inch section. The rest of that material is there to get as much length as you want out of it. So let's say we forged the length. Now we don't have the material anymore to get the height. So if we went through and forged from the heel forward, we moved all that material that we had to get height down the blade. We want to get all the height while that material's there, and then move from there forward for our length. Planishing. Oh yeah. And remember, I'm not done profiling this. We're still kind of in that preform phase. We're still in the moving mass. We're not in the making pretty phase. So we're just trying to get the material to where it needs to go before we start cleaning everything up and focusing on profile. So right now, I'm getting height, but I also know that whenever I go and I correct the profile, And I'm going to move the spine of the blade that has stretched up because I made that taller. I'm going to move that down. That's going to give me even more height, about a 1/4 of an inch almost. I'll show you what part I'm talking about on this one. Planishing blows there, but as I go through and I forge out the rest of this bump has got to go somewhere. So whenever I finish forging this section, it's going to be the ricasso, the end of the handle, and the flats at the beginning of them. That material is going to go dunk that way. So now we have the height that we want at that heel. Switch hammers again. Now we're going to use the straight pin. Got to be more careful with this one. That little hammer down there is about 1.75 pounds. This is 2.5 pounds. Again, Two Bastards, Texas Smithy and Supply. I supply all my hammers. Whenever I do this, this is a heavier hammer. I need to be more mindful as I compress this steel because it's going to put even bigger dent in there. Heavier the hammer, more action happens. I know that seems like common sense, but you know, why not tell people? Now, what this is doing is this is now putting the lines this way. And we're going to get length. And what I'm doing is as I'm hammering, I have the knife on the anvil slightly angled like this, and I'm hammering slightly angled like this, and I'm compressing primarily the edge. So that's going to give me a little bit of bevel. It's going to thin out that edge, leave the spine a little bit thicker, and move all the material lengthwise as I do it instead of 360 degrees if I use a rounding hammer. So if I use a rounding hammer on that particular phase, it would move the material everywhere. I would get height, length, everything. I don't need any height in that section of the blade. All I need is length. So you want to use a straight pin to pull it out, compress that edge, and get everything going the right direction. You see right now, this kind of has a hook to it. As I forge on that edge, it's going to bring that up. Now you can see, no more hook, because I'm primarily focusing on that edge. This edge stretched and got rid of that hook. Another round of length. Now I've been doing this long enough that as I'm going through and forging with the straight peen and the cross peen, I'll go through and planish with those too. So I'll focus on hitting the peaks. Because what happens whenever, wipe off this dry erase board, it's wet napkins, very sanitary. Okay, so whenever we're using a straight peen or cross peen, you are creating a whole bunch of peaks and valleys. The hammer hits inside here, creates that valley, then you have this peak left over. What I'm doing whenever I'm doing the planishing phase is I'm then hammering down here. It takes a lot of concentration to do that, but I'll go through and I'll planish those down a little bit. What you typically do is you hammer all of those, then you get yourself a nice flat side, and that pushes everything down flat. Because you're doing this, whenever these flatten out, they give you length. Okay? All those peaks have to go somewhere, and you're using a directional hammer, so they're going to go the direction that the hammer's pointing. Whew. They're not perfectly straight, but you can see that we have that taper going down to the tip there. Still a little bit wide on the edge. As you can see there, tapers up towards the tip. What's up, Bob? Trying to make a swords blacksmith thing. That's nice. Bevels to get out of here. Thank you about the compliment on the hammer. I take a lot of work within hammering, and my guy who makes my hammers takes a lot of work to make my hammers beautiful. So I like his hammers versus a lot of different blacksmithing hammers. He does all the facets and everything. So like, I love all the facets that are done on the hammers, and then the gun bluing that he does on there. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate the compliment. Bob, you're an amazing knife maker. If y'all haven't checked out Bob, you can look at his stuff. If he's got a link or the name of his Instagram, y'all should check him out. Planishing before I start the next phase. Alright, so what we're going to do to these at this point is we are going to clean up the profile just a little bit and clean up our bevels. We're going to be using one of the hammers that I absolutely love to do that. We're focusing primarily on cleanup, a little bit of profiling, and then we're going to go into the tang. We're going to distal taper that, and then we're going to correct our whole profile. Two Basters restoration hammer. This is a turning hammer, farrier's hammer. Love this. That puts in work. The cool thing about it is it put in work its whole life with the farrier that was using it, and then I got to use it. Take that hump out the back. heel hanging off the edge of the anvil. Go back in. Again, all we're working on right now is cleaning up that profile. Clean up the profile, a little bit of bevel work. So, as we do this next, I want to say the next phase, when we're really kind of pinching the bevels down, it's going to give us a little bit of a arc to the cutting edge, which we want for a chef knife. Yep, build your forge from scrap. That's how I did mine. The whole entire shop I'm in right now is all built by me. Got the videos on the channel that they building this. Y'all are in my original 12x12 that I started making knives in with my 1x30 and my little bitty tiny forge and all that, my stock removal stuff that I did. Y'all are in that 12x12 in the doorway. And this whole entire shop that's out here was added on to it, and I actually built it. There was a little bitty 11x11 that I had my forge, my anvil, and a lot of equipment, all that stuff. Beveling, planishing, thinning. I will tell you this, doing the amount of work that I do on these blades is not necessary. I tend to go a little above and beyond on the smithing side of it because I like to leave the brute to forge texture. If I wanted to grind everything off, I could have left it where it was a little while ago. But I want to get as close to the finished product as possible, so I spend a little extra time cleaning everything up, making it look beautiful. Part of that is so that whenever I start grinding, I only got to start with 120 grit belt. I don't have to start with 36 grit and have to get all those scratches out later. Does the power hammer work? Hell yeah, it does. Just flip a little switch. I'm not gonna bang around with it. I could. Maybe I'll hit on this real quick and then I'll hit on some aluminum so you can actually see it work. I primarily use it for Damascus. Damascus, or I'm working on swords. At those moments, that's whenever I use the power hammer. Because having to forge out Damascus, hold it, forge it out again, and do all that, it's a pain in the butt. So yeah, it works. It's a 40-pound ram. Good friend Steve Jennings is the one that made it for me. Well, he made it for himself, and then I got to commandeer it. Because he got a little giant Rex. It's not perfectly straight yet, but you can see how thin we forged the tip versus the spine going up to the ricasso. So we got that taper in there. We got our bevels, our edge nice and thinned out. Profile's looking good. So now, before I finish that, and by the way, that's still only like 80%. So got more that's going to happen to that. Now, I've got to take the tank. Woo. Get a little drink. I wonder why I keep stepping over here. My fan that's in the other shop blowing the cool air, it's like hitting here, so that it's not hitting the anvil and cooling the steel down too fast. Oh. There. At this phase, all I'm doing is planishing and straightening, so we don't need a lot of heat in it during that phase. Alright. Get these tongs off. Go to the rounding hammer again. Make sure that profile is what I want. Straight ping and stretch. Okay, that's all the length that I want really out of that. If I get any extra, cool. We brought it down a little bit. Whenever I planish it down, that's when I'm going to finalize the distal. Now we switch back. We're going to use the normal rounding hammer for this. That way we can forge all the way across the tang. We don't risk hitting one side more than the other. That's thinned out. We do got to move that down just a little bit. Do that on this next heat. Flatten this out. I thought he was Jason Momoa. I wish. He's like about 3 inches tall, thick. 2 or 3. Woo! I'm surprised the camera hasn't overheated yet. I'm happy about that. Just need to bring the handle down just a little bit. This is again why you trust your preforms. To get you where you need to go. Because, let me ask you a question from people that are still here. On this profile, grab this whole entire time I've been forging these. How many times did you see me forge to fix the profile? What I mean by that, put it on its edge, forge into the spine to correct things and do all of that and mess with it during this? Hardly at all. We were able to get our profile that we wanted without having to sit there and fuss with the profile the whole entire time. Now, of course, I'm going to end up straightening it. You can see we got our bevels forged. You see that taper that goes all the way down to that cutting edge. We got our distals forged through the tip, the tang. We got our profile within a 1/16 of an inch of where we wanted it. Without sitting there and screwing with all the different, trying to keep profiles perfect and all that stuff. Trust your process, you know what I mean? Okay, so now what we're going to do, switch hammers. everything. Beautiful planishing hammer, auto body hammer. Back in the days, we used those to actually do body work on cars. Listen here, Thomas. You gotta calm down. No need for any of that. Just because it's hot don't mean you get to run away. Whoa. So, back whenever I was a youngin', we use these type of hammers and what we call a dolly, which is hanging on the wall right there. With bodywork steel to make the to fix all the issues. So we barely used any bonding. So I have people ask me, Eric, why don't you scrape the forge scale off as you're forging? Part of that is because I forge so smooth that there isn't hammer marks left whenever I'm done. All my texture that's left on this brute to forge knife is just forge scale thickness deep. So you can barely even feel it with your fingernail as you're going down it, but you can still see all the texture. But it is super shallow because it's just the thinness of the forge scale, which is like super thin, 100,000 type of stuff. And so I forge it as smooth as possible so that I don't have a whole bunch of hammer dents. It's brute to forge, it's all texture. Okay, put it back in the forge. We'll just smooth the tang into the blade. Okay. That same process. This one. For you people that haven't watched me finish a knife or forge. So, that is a forged knife. The only depth of anything that's on there is forged scale. So I started off as a square, was forged to within a 1/16 of an inch of this profile, with all the upsetting and everything to be able to forge all of this down to this and that. That's how smooth it is. Woo. Okay. Let's get this in. I'm about ready to go inside and take a shower and cool down. What's up, Curtis? So that's where we're at right now. That's with tapers, with everything, bevels, full done. You can see how I brought down that heel. It's the shadow that's making the heel look like it's going that way from where the light's hitting it. But it's centered. Right there. Alright, so that's one. Put that to the side because we don't want to temper it right now with both. While we're doing work on this one, not temper it but annealing, because it'd get too much heat. I've been forging this at about 1850 the whole entire time, treating it like 50 to 100. Been forging it between 1850 and 1900. Closer to 1850. Using the camera to, okay, good. Right through there. There we go. Well, thank you, Bob. Those are looking good. I don't know how close they are to each other, profile-wise, because I've just been forging. Now, if I've been doing preforms right, whatnot, it should be pretty good. As you know, I didn't have a profile drawn out on anything. I can already tell the subtle differences. See a little bit of the blade on this side, a little bit of the tip on that side, a little bit of the tang on this side, a smidgen of the blade on this side. But that's just forging based on my eyes and preforms. Cool thing is the length. Freaking 1/16 of an inch over here, and not even a 1/16 on that side. Which, I mean, technically, if I shifted it down, they would even out. But that's with no profile to go off of other than the one in my mind. Pretty cool. Put that in there. Now we're only going to let the forge go for like 30 seconds, and then we're going to turn it off. So I can just walk into the shop. Toby, you're a goofball. Tobias is my 8-year-old son. He's my middle child. It's like a second and first child because my oldest is 15. It goes 15, then 8, and then 6. I want to turn that forge off because it has a lot of internal heat inside there. It's going to bring those blades up to the right temperature. I'm going to turn this fan to where it's blowing at me now. Pull myself off while I'm talking to y'all. Oh boy, that is so much better. So, right now we're doing the annealing phase, which is bringing the blade up to about 1600 degrees and letting it cool slowly inside the forge. That's going to let that steel normalize. It's going to let it anneal and get everything into its most relaxed state possible. The reason why I'm not saying this is normalizing is because normalizing, we bring it up to that 1600 degrees and then we let it cool outside of the forge a little bit faster than if it was inside the forge. The forge, if you leave it in there or put it in something like vermiculite, it's going to cool slowly. If you put it outside the forge, it's going to cool a little bit faster, but that normalizes the steel. And then we do grain refinement cycles. And I've got the recipe for this. Supposedly I can get this as hard or harder than 26C3. Now the difference between the two stills is I love 26C3 because I can etch it in really cool ways and it creates a beautiful hamon. This steel is the non-etching steel in Damascus. It's equivalent to 15N20. And so it's not going to etch. It's going to resist that etching. Now, one of those things where, because of that, it should have good corrosion resistance and good durability. So that's what we're going for on this. We want a really durable little smaller kitchen knife. Of course, this turned into like a full-blown petty knife. But still going to be on the smaller side. We're going to have that. I think it's going to look really cool. So I'm excited about seeing the way this turns out. Now, before I overheat, before my phone overheats, do y'all have any questions for me other than Toby? Say your favorite animal in chat. Jeez. Toby, what are you doing? So, if y'all have any other questions or something like that, feel free to ask me before we end this. Also, I'm going to be releasing a video here soon talking about the recap from the show. What cool things I got from the show. Handle material, knives, things like that. New types of handle material that I got to mess with. So, yeah, I'm going to have a video of that coming out here within the next few days. Something like that. But since y'all don't have any questions, let's go ahead and end this live stream here. Thank y'all for participating and being part of this. Talking in the chat. I appreciate y'all. I will catch y'all next Saturday on Saturday's live stream, where we're going to be forging, I think, stake turners or pointers or something. We're going to do some blacksmithing stuff. Best stainless steel for knife making. Woo! I don't do a lot of stainless, so I'm not the right person to ask for that. There are so many high-end steels that people use for like chopping competitions that are powdered steels. They're sick, and just to get a chunk of that steel would be like $200-300 to make one of those knives, up to $400. But there's a lot of really good steels. A lot of my EDCs are with Magna Cut, so my stainlesses that I use have Magna Cut. I like that steel, but there's like so many steels that are just absolutely insane. I use a lot of high carbon. I like 26C3 is my favorite high carbon steel, because in the quench, whenever you get it done, there's like zero decarb, and you can get beautiful Ramones. I can have EDCs that are in that 63 to 65 Rockwell on the edge with good toughness. So I like 26C3. It's probably my favorite high carbon steel. Apex Ultra is really nice, but I love 26C3 because I can get really good edges and retention and grain structure on the inside, and real cool Ramones. It etches beautifully, good corrosion resistance. Probably my favorite. But yeah, I don't do a bunch of stainless because I have forges. Got those two. I've got a ribbon burner one over here. But yeah, I don't have a heat treating oven or a cryo tank, so I don't do stainless. Plus, I love forging. Unless you're using like AEBL, you're not really doing much forging on stainless. But yeah, let's go ahead. Call it here. I'm going to go inside, take a shower, cool down in the AC. Y'all have an amazing week. I will see y'all next Saturday for some cool forging fun. I appreciate the heck out of y'all. Y'all are amazing. I'm sweating. Whew, we're hot. Let's get it. Make some stuff during the week and talk about it next Saturday, okay? Let's go.